Gurudeva Jaya Gurudeva Gurudeva Jaya Gurudeva Nittai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nittai Gaura Hari Bol
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you for attending this special Sunday feast as we have witnessed His Holiness Romapada Swami Maharaj in the auspicious month of Kartik. So, small introduction about Maharaj. His Holiness Romapada Swami Maharaj is a Vaishnava monk and a spiritual master practicing Bhakti Yoga for over 57 years. A renowned scholar on Eastern Vedic thought and philosophy, and a highly respected spiritual leader, guide, and caregiver. He is well known, respected, and followed for his selfless sacrifice and impressive efforts to build, sustain, and grow spiritual community in America, Asia, and other places around the world. We will welcome Maharaj by loudly chanting one time Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So in the meanwhile, while they're setting up, now the way we can close, we can sit till the wall, but make sure you are able to see the TV and also move forward, all Matajis. Yeah. Yes. Face the TV and maybe sit little slant. Yes.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Some of you were not with us yesterday evening. How many were not with us yesterday evening? Oh, because this is part 2 of the exemplary life of Queen Kunti. So rather than do a rerun, you can hear the recording, and I'll just tell you where we left off yesterday evening. First, let's offer our pranam mantras to Srila Prabhupada. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Pascha Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama. I think I have to unplug this and start over again. Because it's supposed to be showing you a full screen and it's not. So we'll try again. No, it's not working. Escape. They're good. I beg your pardon? What? You want to show me? Come over here. I'm sorry. I did.
Yeah, then it comes both places.
But it's
It comes in both places.
supposed to be a full screen, not a split screen. Watch, watch, watch.
So it's reversing.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare
Hey, well done. Srila Prabhupada ki. We'll try again, part 2. So, part 1 was the Pandavas. There was attempted murder number 2 by Duryodhana and his dear friend Purochana, who built a house of lac with the intention that they would be burned to death in the dead of night, the whole family, Kunti and the 5 brothers. The plan was spoiled or foiled because Vidura snitched on them, the plan. He knew the plan. So he gave a little secret message that nobody but Yudhishthira could understand. Yudhishthira explained it to Kunti so that she could understand. He, Vidura, was planning to send a miner that knew how to dig tunnels underground. Then tunnels started in the center of the house and went to the Ganges underground. And the very night that the house of lac was to be ignited, Yudhishthira knew. They went and hid. They went into that little tunnel and came out the other side. But inside the house, there was a visiting family, a lady and her 5 sons. So the next morning, when they found the bones of that lady and her 5 sons, they saw what they thought was the evidence the Pandavas had been killed, successful. But it wasn't. So on the other side, Bhima, who had carried everybody in the dead of night and to a place where they could all rest for the night because it was completely dark at night, and a Rakshasa named Hidimba came and wanted to feast on the sleeping Pandavas and Kunti. Bhima saw him, Bhima did battle, Bhima finished him. Hidimba had a sister. She was nice. She wasn't a Rakshasa. Hidimba, the sister of Hidimba, proposed to the elder brother Yudhishthira, I want to marry your brother. He proposed to his mother, to Bhima's mother, I want to marry him. So there was like, what do we do in a circumstance like this? Yudhishthira instructed, Hidimba became married right there in the forest. And after some time, a son was born, Gotakcha, and he later became a very important hero in the Kurukshetra battle, one of the sons of Bhima. So back in Hastinapur, everyone thought the Pandavas had been killed. Vyasadeva found them in the forest, and Vyasadeva informed them, I have equal affection for both the Kauravas and the Pandavas, but because of your harassment, I have some special affection for you. So I have a suggestion. So his suggestion was, Vyasadeva escorted them to a village, a remote village, named Ekachakra. Ekachakra, turns out later, Ekachakra is the very same village where Nityananda was born. Ekachakra. And in that Ekachakra, Vyas advised them, you stay, conceal your identity, because back in Hastinapur they think you're dead. Conceal your identity as Brahmanas, all of you, and a Brahmani, the mother. So they were given a place to stay with another Brahmana family. And there was a problem. There's always a problem. The problem was there was a Rakshasa demon named Baka, same name as Bakasura, same name, different fellow. And he lived in a grove of trees nearby, and the villagers of Ekachakra had made a truce, like a peace plan. Once a month, we'll bring you a whole cartload of edibles, plus a human sacrifice. One member of each family in Ekachakra, once a month, will drive the cart for you to eat the contents of the cart and eat the driver. And so he left them alone. They had that arrangement, except for on one fine day, the family where the Pandavas, who were disguised as Brahmanas, were staying, started talking amongst themselves. It was their turn. There was a mother and father, Brahmana and Brahmani, and their two boys. And Kunti overheard them conversing, crying, what to do, what to do. So she interrupted and said, no problem, I'll send my son instead. And they said, no, you're a guest, we can't do that. She said, you don't know my son. So after some persuasion, Bhima became the person who was going to drive the cart loaded with food for the demon. Except, one of the names of Bhima was he's a voracious eater. You know that name? Vrikodar? You've heard that name before? Vrikodar, remember that name. He eats a lot. Unsatiable appetite. And so while he was driving the bullock cart, one hand on the reins, one hand reaching in the foodstuffs in the back of the cart, he was practically gone. He just ate and ate and ate. And when Baka found out what was going on, he was really upset. That was my meal. So he attacked Bhima. That was a mistake. And there was a battle. Guess who won? Bhima. And Bhaka was finished, and the people of Ekachakra were relieved of the harassment of this Rakshasa demon. And after some time, Vyasadeva came to visit them and brought some news. Well, the news was Draupadi was going to have her Swayamvar ceremony. And I think it's a good idea if you guys show up. So they thought it was a good idea too. Although they were incognito, they were like supposed as dead. And that's where we left off. There was suspense and the drum roll and the trumpets, and that's where we ended. So the Pandavas decided to go together to the Swayamvar ceremony of Draupadi. Now, how many here know a little bit about the birth of Draupadi? Who knows? Raise your hand. Why don't you say something? How did she appear? She came from a sacrificial fire. There was King Virat was performing a yajna, and much to everybody's surprise, from the fire rose his daughter. I mean, it's pretty unusual. Brahma came from a lotus flower, and she came from a fire. Why not? And she was very beautiful, and this and that and the other thing, and they accepted this is divine arrangement somehow or another. Like a goddess came from the fire. So Drupada, King Virat, accepted this daughter as his daughter. So Drupada, the daughter, became Draupadi. And so here's the Pandavas, that the Swayamvar ceremony is at his palace, and there was it's a contest. It was like a certain, any prince or king that wanted to have the hand in marriage of his daughter had to accomplish the following task. You see down at the bottom of the painting, there's a pool of water. And up above the painting, there's a revolving disc. And the revolving disc had this little opening in it. And the opening, on the other side of the opening, was a fish. And the challenge was that whoever was to marry Draupadi had to look down at the water, because the water was moving, so reflection was moving. But you can't look at the target. You have to look at the reflection that's moving. And not only the reflection was moving, but the target was moving, this revolving disc that had a little hole in it. And on the other side of the hole was a fish. And the challenge was to pierce the eye of the fish by firing an arrow looking at the water at a target that's up in the ceiling, that's moving, and et cetera, et cetera. The revolving fish target, looking only at the pool of rippling water. So there's many slides. There's the person announcing, this the father. There's the daughter. And anyone that can string see that bow over there on the right side? String the bow, looking at the reflection of the water, and pierce the target. So many tried. Many failed. And after some time, Arjuna stepped forward. Now, he didn't say, I'm Arjuna. He just was, this fellow. And, one of the persons who wanted to compete, what was his name? Starts with a K. Karna. She said no. Only Kshatriyas. And this fellow was the son of a chariot driver, Dhritarashtra's chariot driver. So he can't compete. And Karna was insulted. And he wanted to get back, he did his get back program several times. because he was insulted. Krishna was there, and Arjuna was there, as you see in the paint. Not Arjuna, Balaram. See Balaram with his plow? See him? And Arjuna stepped forward. And so his credentials were examined, and he was allowed to engage in the competition. He's looking down at the reflection, pointing his bow up at the ceiling, and sure enough, he was able to pierce the fish by looking at the reflection. And Krishna was watching, knowing what the outcome would be. He was very charmed by Arjuna's competing against everybody. Now this painting shows he's cheating. It's just the artist's misconception. He's looking at the target. He's not supposed to look at the target. And sure enough, he pierced the eye of the fish that was on the other side of that revolving disc that had a hole in it, while looking at the water with rippling effects on the surface of the water. And the other kings were astonished. But not only they were astonished, they were Kshatriyas. And so they wanted to do combat with the victor. So here's Draupadi getting ready to take the garland and place the garland around the neck of Arjuna, which she did, which meant we're going to get married. They're not officially married yet, but that's it. And, the other kings and princes and suitors and fellows, big battle. Guess who's picking up this trunk of a tree? That's Bhima. And there's Arjuna with his bow, and, they're having this battle with all the other persons who came to do battle with Arjuna and his brothers, and they got smashed. So what happened was, finally, there's Draupadi with Arjuna, and they came back to the place where Kunti was staying. And when they found that Kunti was inside, while still outside, Arjuna said, "Oh, mother, we have returned, bringing excellent alms. Just see the wonderful jewel we have obtained today." It was we. He didn't say I, it was we. And so Kunti, being Mother Kunti and wanting fairness amongst the boys, she was very happy to hear her son's voice and said, "Share among yourselves whatever you have acquired." How do you do that? She's one lady, share amongst yourselves. But she said it, and they were bound by the sound vibration of their mother. And so what to do? Draupadi was very worried. They were also very worried, because you don't transgress Dharma because Mama says. So she went back to Daddy, her father. And King Drupada was in the presence of Vyasadeva. So Vyasadeva, hearing the concern of the father, invited a little private discussion. So they went into a little room. Everyone waited outside. And Vyasadeva said why it was okay. I'm going to read. The ascetic told Drupada that Draupadi had been the daughter of a rishi in her previous life. She prayed to Lord Shiva for a husband. In her prayer, she asked the deity 5 times for a powerful husband. Shiva replied, "Since you have asked me 5 times, in your next birth, you shall have 5 husbands." So Vyasadeva is relating this incident and said, Shiva can't possibly ordain a sinful act. So Vyasadeva further explained, when she was born, here she is peering out of the fire, the sacrificial fire, to everyone's surprise, she was born in that way as an expansion of the goddess of fortune. So previously she was the daughter of a rishi, and now she's the expansion of the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi. She appeared from the sacrificial fire in order to become the Pandava's wife. So Vyasa is sanctioning this pretty unusual circumstance. Vyasadeva bestowed upon the king the divine sight to see the Pandavas that they had been in previous lives. In his inner vision, Drupad, that's Draupadi's father, saw the blazing form of the Deva which each of the brother had possessed, meaning the son of various demigods. Their celestial bodies adorned with golden crowns and garlands. This is cut and paste from Mahabharata. Struck with wonder, Drupada folded his palms and said to the sage, "Oh, great Rishi, my mind is now satisfied. What has been ordained by the celestials must always come to pass. We are all instruments in the hands of destiny, that my daughter accept all 5 brothers as her husbands," plural. Pretty unusual. You know, kings may have more than one wife, but one wife having more than one husband, it's unheard of. But Vyasadeva ordained it. And so here's a nice drawing. There's Vyasadeva explaining the situation. He's giving this, the bottom part, he's giving this vision to Drupad of the Pandavas in their previous life, etc. Although rare, such act need not be unrighteous if sanctioned by an authority like Vyasadeva, especially if it was performed in order to preserve some other higher religious purpose. So Yudhisthira said, okay. Much to everybody's surprise. And sure enough, the wedding was performed. When the wedding was performed, it was a big deal because Draupadi is an expansion of the goddess of fortune. And, you know, it's a most unusual event with 5 powerful men. Now, by this time, everyone came to realize they weren't dead at all. And then they were speculating, how did it appear that there was bones and da-da-da-da-da-da-da? They suspected, Vidura tipped them off, and sure enough, that's what had happened. So they were like antagonistic towards Vidura. And then after this marriage, Vidura went to the kingdom of Drupad, Panchala kingdom, to invite the Pandavas back to Hastinapur. Because everyone had thought they were dead, there was like this skullduggery competition from Duryodhana's side towards first Bhima, then the Pandavas, or the House of Black. And when they came back, there was a grand reception in Hastinapur, much to the unhappiness of Duryodhana. And Dhritarashtra was, what's he going to do? Because the eldest son of Pandu was the heir to the throne. Now he's sitting in the seat that he can't be the king of, when his son Duryodhana was taking over on his behalf. Now the Pandavas are back. So what did he do? He divided the kingdom in half. And the kingdom that he gave them was a forest. It was like there was nothing. The Khandava forest. Thanks a lot for a forest. We got this palace and they've got the forest. Haribol, see you later. So they went to Khandavaprastha. And what happened in Khandavaprastha was both Krishna and Arjuna were approached by Agni. Who's Agni? Fire god. And fire god approached them to say, I got indigestion. too many yajnas, and people offer too much ghee and too much this and too much that. I need some medicine to deal with my indigestion. And in this Kandava forest, there's so many herbs and so many medicinal methods that can cure my disease, my illness. But when I start burning the forest, Indra stops it. He sends downpours of rain. Can you help? Agni wanted their help so he could take care of his indigestion. And they agreed. So Arjuna and Krishna agreed to assist Agni to burn the Kandava forest. And there you see up in the sky, there's Indra trying to send downpours of rain. Krishna and Arjuna, Krishna, of course, sending the Sudarshan Chakra, because there were entities that were in that forest. There were Rakshasas and bad elements. So Krishna was chopping them with the Sudarshan Chakra. Arjuna was shooting them with arrows. And there's a big scene. And Indra was impressed with the prowess of both Krishna and Arjuna. And lo and behold, one of the entities, one of the persons living in the forest was Mayadanava. It's a long explanation, made short. Danavas are kind of mystical beings. They have powers like the demigods, but they have a spirit like the demons. And Mayadanava was, one of them. So when he came out of the forest, Krishna had a Sudarshan Chakra ready to chop him, finish him. And Mayadanava understood, I'm finished, so he went and took shelter of Arjuna. Protect me. So Arjuna said, sure, I'll protect you. And when Arjuna said, sure, I'll protect you, Krishna stopped his Sudarshan Chakra. Why? Because Krishna was very pleased that Mayadanava, although he's a bad guy, took shelter of his devotee, Arjuna. So he withdrew his Sudarshan Chakra, and Arjuna saved the life of Mayadanava. So Mayadanava was like super grateful. You saved my life. I'd like to do something for you, Arjuna. And Arjuna said, Kshatriyas don't take care of protecting people because they want some reward. So no thanks, but no thanks. So Krishna said, take his offer. Because he's pleased me by taking shelter of you. And my recommendation is you ask him to build, you've inherited the Kandava forest as your kingdom, your half of the kingdom. Have him build a super palace for you. And he knows how to do it. He's got those skills. He built a palace for the Danavas. He can build a palace for you and Yudhisthira. So just go ask Yudhisthira, and Yudhisthira will say, okay. So not sure enough, he went and gathered all the ingredients for building a super palace. And that was his gift to Arjuna, as you see in the drawing on the left side. And in addition, he went all the way high in the region of the Danavas to this place called Mainaka Mountain. And in the lake, there was a conch that then was also a gift, the Devadatta conch that was used during the Kurukshetra battle. Arjuna signaling the battle's about to begin. And he also did a very nice favor. The king of the Danavas had a club. And with the permission of the king of the Danavas, he secured that club and gave the club to Bhima. Bhima used the club. Count on it. So then after he gathered the ingredients and came back, he built this super fantastic mystical place. And this mystical place had many interesting features to it. One of those features, Duryodhana came and wanted to check it out. You know what happened. When he went to check it out, he thought it was land and it was water, and he fell in the water. And all of the queens of Krishna from Dwarka were laughing. And Yudhishthira said, "Stop, don't laugh. He's a respectable person." And Krishna said, "Laugh." Because he wanted to agitate Duryodhana's mind. Krishna wanted the battle. Krishna wanted the battle. He wanted to finish this Duryodhana fellow. So after this super palatial place, the whole of Hastinapur and now Indraprastha celebrated the Pandavas and Yudhishthira. And so Yudhishthira decided, it's time that I became anointed the emperor of the world because I'm the heir to the throne, and Duryodhana has been standing in the way. So he sent a message all the way to Dwarka, inviting Krishna to come. You know the story? Yes? Here's a detail that has nothing to do with Kunti, but this is all about Kunti, but it's a nice detail. When that messenger came from Indraprastha with a message from Yudhishthira inviting Krishna to come to preside over my becoming the king of the world, simultaneously another messenger came. And the other messenger that came was, there's many kings, there's a king that has imprisoned many queens. And so anyway, several things happened. So Krishna went and dealt with the obstacle first, and then he went to Indraprastha. There you see Krishna seated on the throne, and the yajna is going forward, for the yajna establishing Yudhishthira as the emperor of the world, much to everyone's happiness, because he's the rightful claim anyway, and Duryodhana had usurped it unlawfully. And that created a problem for Duryodhana, at least. And so after the big festivities, he and his friends, his brothers, and his uncle, Shukuni, they were planning what to do. We can't have this emperor of the world, and I want to be the king. So this is the scene that we're going to be hearing about for the rest of our visit here, where Krishna is leaving Indraprastha to go back to Dwarka. This is the scene. There's Kunti approaching Krishna, and she offered her prayers. That's what we're going to be discussing. My dear Keshava, you are the supreme soul of this universe. You are always kindly disposed towards everyone, but you especially protect your devotees. From the day that Akrura arrived in Hastinapur, oh, you didn't hear that yesterday, those of you that didn't come yesterday, when there was this skullduggery going on, Krishna sent Akrura as a reconnaissance spy, find out what's going on over there in Hastinapur. You know, the attempted murder of Bhima, and, you know, find out what's going on. There's this hostility. So when Akrura came, Kunti's saying, when Akrura came from that day, I knew you were thinking of the welfare of myself and my sons. I am confident that whatever difficulties we may experience are arranged by Providence, that's him, for our ultimate good. So we'll hear more about the details and fantastic details. So meanwhile, we mentioned Shukuni's name. Shukuni was an uncle. Shukuni was an uncle of Duryodhana. And he was wicked like Duryodhana. So along with his brothers, Shukuni came up with a plan. I've got a plan. I know how to cheat the Pandavas in dice. And we know the tendency of Yudhishthira when someone challenges him, he'll never, fail to accept the challenge. So he'll challenge him in gambling. Of course, devotees don't gamble. And Yudhishthira said yes. That was a mistake. So in that course of that gambling, several things happened. As you see in the painting on the left, there's all the weapons of the Pandavas. They were piled up because they were gambled against the weapons of the Kauravas. And the Kauravas won because Shakuni was cheating. And then finally came Karna, that's the fellow dressed in red up there on the throne. Behind him is the blind king. Karna wanted to get back at Draupadi for not allowing him, Karna, to participate in her Swayamvar because of his birth. So he suggested, Duryodhana really liked the idea, have them gamble their wife. And Yudhishthira said yes. And as we know what happened, she was lost in the gambling match. And there was this big, how can you gamble your wife? And it's not only your wife, it's the wife of your 4 brothers too. So how can you do that? What's the ethics of that kind of activity? So there's like hubbub and commotion and big mess. Duryodhana insisted, get Dushasana, he's very strong, and he is the one, pictured here, pulling on her sari. The plan was, we've won her, we want to see her naked in the public assembly. Horrible. And so he tried, you know the story. She held on to, because she's a powerful lady. She's a powerful lady. With one punch, she knocked Jayadratha to the ground. She's a powerful lady. So she tried to stop Dushasana, and then eventually, with both hands in the air, she called for Krishna to come and protect her. So Krishna came. In the sky, he's providing unlimited sari, and she was protected. And at the end, they were then sent in exile for some number of years. Kunti was devastated. There's Draupadi, and then Kunti stayed behind. Kunti stayed at the home of Vidura during the whole time of their exile. And in the forest, this and that. The other thing, the painting on the left, the final year of their exile was to be incognito. There's many things that happened during their exile, including Duryodhana sending Durvasa Muni to have lunch from Draupadi's Akshaya Patra and all of that scene. But Kunti wasn't involved in all of that. On the left-hand side, the final incognito year, they were in various disguises. On the far left, that's Arjuna as a dance teacher. And he taught the daughter of the king. And then there's the horse trainer, and then there's this and that. One took care of the cows. Bhima's up there in the upper right, taking care of cooking, etc. Each of the 5 brothers took on roles with different names. And there was a problem. There's always a problem. And one of the problems was the king's wife's brother. So Virat was the king. And his wife's name was Sudeshna. Sudeshna had a brother who was a nasty fellow, Kichaka. And Kichaka was known to be, powerful, very physically powerful. And when he saw Draupadi, who's now going by a different name, Sairindri, he wanted to cohabit with her. So he conspired this way, he conspired that way. His sister, the queen's wife, she understood his mentality, but she was partial to her brother, and some arrangement was made for her to bring some particular item to his palace, to Kichika's palace. She declined. The queen insisted. She handed her the special vessel. So when she delivered the special vessel, Kirata tried to entice her. And basically, he didn't force himself on her, but everything else but. And she was very straightforward with this fellow. And then the second time around, in the public assembly, in the palace, he tried grabbing a hold of her. And the king is sitting there like, what's going on here? His wife knew what was going on, and his wife let it go on. And when she said some very heavy things, he kicked her so hard she fell to the ground, right in the public assembly. And Kichika, is denouncing her. The king looked like he's falling asleep. And so what did Draupadi do? She went to Bhima and told the whole story of what had been going on with Kichika. And Bhima couldn't take it. So you see his club there by his bed? He's got a club. And he went to the place where Kichika was and pulverized the fellow, threw him on the ground so many times he became just like a wet rag, broken bones, bloodied, powerful, powerful, powerful personality. Finished. Word got out. Somebody just finished Kichika. You know who that is? There's only one person, Bhima. They wanted to verify in a sneaky way. So what they did, the Kauravas, this is the 1 year incognito, and if they were found, they'd have to have another 12 years in forest life. So they wanted to catch them. So what did they do? The Kauravas sent some soldiers to steal the cows from the cowherd community surrounding the kingdom. They pillaged the cows. And message of this got to Arjuna. So Arjuna went with the sister of Draupadi. His name was Uttara. And he went with Uttara to gather his weapons from a tree. That you see the weapons on the ground. And together, the son, Uttara, and Arjuna, they defeated the entire army. Just the two defeated the entire army of the Kauravas. And then Uttara returned back to the capital with the cows and all the wealth that had been stolen. But it was now verified, that's where they are. Now, with all of this intrigue going on, Krishna knows what's going on. So he received this request from Yudhisthira, help, please come. Come to Hastinapur and Indraprastha and see if we can make a peace because we're about to have a big war. So Krishna came, and when he came, I'm not going to narrate the part where he made a peace treaty and Duryodhana insulted him. Duryodhana insulted Vidura. Vidura left, and all that scene has nothing to do with Kunti. But Krishna was invited to have lunch with Duryodhana, and he said no. He said there are two reasons why people will have lunch. One, if you're hungry, I'm not hungry. And the other is where there's love, but there's no love. So I'm going to go to Vidura's place. There's love with Vidura. So when he went there, Kunti was there, because during their whole exile, she was with Vidura. And sure enough, Kunti recognized the battle's about to happen. She decided to disclose to Karna that she was the mother of Karna. Rather than reading all the text, she was really uncertain because she had no idea how he was going to respond. She assumed he's likely to be insulted and, and nasty and angry and all those things. She had hesitated, but she saw, because the battle's about to begin, he shouldn't fight against his brothers. So she decided to speak to him. Kunti wiped her eyes and glanced at the sun. Why had that blazing deity put her through such pain? It had been an extremely difficult decision for her to reveal the truth to her firstborn son. She loved Karna, but he would surely find that impossible to accept, etc., etc., etc. So when she told him, sure enough, he was really angry. And he said some harsh things to her, rightly so. And, I'm with Duryodhana. They're the only place where I've found shelter. You're not shelter for me, forget it. So the battle's about to begin, and Karna's on the other side. And Duryodhana, as we know, Duryodhana enlisted grandfather Bhishma. A very profound puzzle why grandfather Bhishma accepted his proposal to be the commander-in-chief in favor of Duryodhana, knowing all of his skullduggery, in favor of, or in opposition to the Pandavas. But that's what Bhishma did, or grandfather Bhishma did. Then there's some, long story, 18 days battle, ghastly battle. One of the ghastly scenes was the very first day, the son of Arjuna, and who was Abhimanyu's mother? Uttara. He was 16, but he was such a fighter, they couldn't stop him. All they're powerful. So they decided some illegal means. And they circled him and trapped him in a battle scene and mercilessly slaughtered him. Hundreds against one, which is, against the codes of Dharma, but that's what they did. Then here's a nice painting or drawing of Ghotokt Kacha. Remember him? Remember him? Who was he the son of? Him. Very good. You have a good memory sometimes. Okay. So he was enlisted to fight against karma. The fighting against karma was he finished Ghotot Kacha. Karna was a good fighter. But finally, Arjuna finished directly Karna, much to everyone's dismay, particularly Queen Kunti's dismay, because remember, Arjuna had celestial weapons. Remember that one? That was from yesterday, celestial weapons. That would be needed, and sure enough, here's a situation that was needed. So they're on the chariot, and Karna's chariot wheel got stuck in the mud. So as he was trying to relieve the chariot wheel from the mud, Krishna told Arjuna, use this weapon that you received from Indra, and the nature of the weapon is when you hit your target, the head of the person who you hit will fall off. That's the nature of this weapon. So Karna heard them having this conversation, and Karna pleaded, wait a minute, this is against the codes of Dharma. If my chariot wheel is stuck, you can't fire a weapon at me. And Krishna blasted him, saying, what about this, what about that? You're a violator of Dharma, you deserve death penalty, here it comes. Arjun, shoot the weapon. Now, before he gets back on his chariot. Now. So Arjuna did what Krishna said. And the painting on the right, there is his suit, his final of the 1,000 suits of armor or coats of armor. That was the one that was remaining that he was born with. And you remember from our discussion, when the 999 suits of armor were left, he went back to the sun god. The sun god said, you'll take birth again, and you're the same demoniac spirit, but you'll be born with a suit of armor. And then Vyasadeva indicated that Narayan Rishi, who had removed the 999 other coats of armor, they would appear on earth as Krishna and Arjuna. And Krishna and Arjuna that finished him. It was Arjuna that finished him under Krishna's instruction. We're almost done. There's the passing of grandfather Bhishma. The war of Kurukshetra is almost over. Ashvatthama wasn't finished. I don't know, this art shows these boys with mustaches. I don't know about that. Anyway, he came in the dead of night and cut off their heads. In order that there would be no survivors of the Pandavas. And there was one remaining, Maharaj Parikshit. He was sent a Brahmastra weapon. Krishna in Uttara pleaded with Krishna to protect the child in my womb. Krishna did. On the right, that's the Brahmastra. And Krishna came and checked the Brahmastra and protected Maharaj Parikshit. And then finally, the battle was finished. Maharaj Yudhisthira was again, because there was already the Rajasuya, now it's official, and in not just Indraprastha, but now in Hastinapur, he's enthroned as the king. And Krishna was there for the event. And Krishna then left. And the Pandavas returned to their kingdom. Yudhisthira was crowned the emperor. And now the last about Kunti, according to Mahabharata and in Srimad Bhagavatam, you see the verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 35 years after the battle of Kurukshetra, Dhritarashtra and Gandhari decided to go to the forest, give up their bodies in that way. Where did they go? They went to Haridwar. We're going to hear all about this over the Thanksgiving holiday. One of the places in Haridwar is where Gandhari and Dhritarashtra went and gave up their bodies. It says in the Mahabharata that Kunti went with them. She didn't enter into that same funeral pyre. Hearing from Arjuna, rather this is what happened to Kunti. She heard from Arjuna that the Pandavas had disappeared, Krishna had disappeared to his own abode. She was feeling great separation, and she also decided to depart from this world. That's a Bhagavatam verse, and here's Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary. The verse itself uses this word samshrite, which he indicates from moving clearly from her appearance for pastimes in this world. So she just disappeared. Doesn't say how. She just disappeared. Upararama. She just disappeared. So she went to join Pandu and her sons and so forth, because they're eternal associates of Krishna. So that's part 2 of the exemplary life of Kunti. Now, for those of you who missed part 1, I really encourage you to view the recording, because part 2 is a little incomplete without part 1. I tried to narrate some of the concluding portions, but it's a very wonderful narration, and it certainly leads up to what we'll start this evening, And that's her prayers. And it's 1 o'clock. Let's see if there's some discussion.
Please raise your hand if you have any question.
Hare Krishna. So I've heard that when Indra, when Arjuna and Karna, they were in the war.
Yeah,
So he came and he wanted to actually Surya came and told Karna in his dream that Arjuna's father, which would Indra, would
Yes.
come and ask for his kavachas and kundalas.
Yeah,
So
that's correct.
is that, could you?
And because Karna was known for being charitable, that I didn't show that, but he took a knife and cut off his armor. Now, the painting shows he was still wearing his armor, but what you said is part of Mahabharata. He sacrificed his armor. He cut it off himself at Indra's request. You're just looking for verification.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, due to the time constraint, we are stopping here, question and answers, Maharaj. And we are also doing Damodara Ashtakam. We're already,
Tonight or now?
so we have, now Aarti we are doing. After that, announcements, and after that, Damodara Ashtakam we do.
Clever. Okay.
Please raise at your places. We are doing